going in my bank account for who knows how long. So in about 5 years, I've only made about $700 or $800 in traditional streaming royalties.
Wow.
And in about a year on Bitcoin and Lightning enabled web apps. I get nervous talking about this because like I don't want to come off sounding gauche, but like so much of the Bitcoin ethos is like you should get paid. You should be getting paid for the art that you are putting out into the world, and it's value for value. If I give you something of value, you give me something of value. So it's taken a little bit of like a leap of faith to kind of get over that hump of talking about money. But here's the main statistic: 5 years in traditional streaming platforms, $700. A year on Bitcoin, over $10,000.
Wow. So you toil away for 5 years with your music catalog. Okay, I know you've written a lot of songs. How big is that music catalog again?
So of the songs that I've released, there's about 25 songs out on the traditional streaming platforms, but I've written over 300 songs.
Okay, now let's take into account the traditional streaming platforms. There are several of them. So you have 25 songs on several different platforms. So that's hitting audiences of I don't know how many each. And then you come into the Bitcoin Valueverse and you put your music out. And there's not as many songs I've noticed on Wavelake as there are on the traditional legacy streaming services. So it's not the same amount of songs. It's fewer songs and fewer less time, obviously. 1 year, $1,000 versus $700 in 5 years of work. That's amazing. So did we turn your mom into a Bitcoiner in the last year?
She's been orange pilled to the back when she's talking.
All right, because I wondered about that. I'm like, so what was it? You're at the Lightning Summit last summer. You're getting the Wavelake demo, and you're just kind of was it? You're saying it's like a why not thing, but was there a moment there where you're like, this seems like I'm getting my butt kicked over here in this arena, so let me just hop on over. Like, what was there one thing that kind of turned on the light for you about Bitcoin and Lightning and the Valueverse?
Posting on TikTok 3 times a day. I'm putting out a song every 6 weeks, trying to be east, and it's not working. And, since getting into this space, I've had a lot of people in the traditional industry come up to me and tell you, like, Ainsley, like, there's no way you can win in the traditional music industry. Like, it's all paid for. Everything is promotional. Like, you have to pay for a TikTok video to go viral. You have to pay for a song to get on one of the big Spotify and Apple Music editorial playlists. And so I think really the tipping point for me was having done all that work in the traditional world and then starting to come over here, already seeing a way bigger reward for my work in 3 or 4 months in here. Like I was already seeing more of more value than I was there. But the big tipping point for me was like having a lot of industry people come up to me who are also like Bitcoin maxis saying like, you were doing everything right over there. This system is rigged against independent artists, and there is not a way for independent artists to break through the noise unless you have. So here's another funny statistic. I had a friend a couple years ago who was like, yeah, it takes about $1 million to break an artist, 1.5 if you're a woman. And so unless you have $1 million, 1.5 if you're a woman, you're not going to get anywhere in the traditional music industry.